The Hop Nation
USA Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Hop Nation USA Podcast. This is episode 154, or if I've just been calling it myself, 100 and a bunch. I am your host, Adam. With me is Steve. You haven't heard him yet. Steve, say hello to the nice people.
No.
Nice. Nice. They don't call him the best color man in the business for nothing, people.
That's right.
And say, damn.
And that other voice that you heard was Mr. Jason Cercone. Welcome back to the show.
What is up, boys? How are we tonight?
Tolerable.
Just another day in quarantine. Ain't no big deal.
You got to feel like we're on the tail end, right? Knock wood. I don't want to jinx it, but feels like we're on the down slope.
For all of us that are in Allegheny County, yes.
Yeah.
But for those lucky few that are still in Beaver County, Steve.
Rogue County.
We're still in the red state.
We're taking it into our own hands.
But
it is a red state out here.
It is, very much
always
so.
has been.
But yes, we're hopefully slowly coming out of the quarantine, hopefully getting back to our lives soon. If everybody behaves and does what we're supposed to, we'll get back sooner rather than later, I hope.
Good fucking luck with all that.
I know. But let's not get bogged down on that. This is a beer show, so let's talk about beer. Unfortunately, as usual during these quarantine episodes, we don't have the same beers to drink together, so we have our own beers. So let's go around the mics and let's see what everybody's drinking on. Jason, since you are our guest, you have the honors.
I am drinking my last can, one of two, and I can tell that story. Steve knows. Of the Steve Austin's Broken Skull IPA from El Segundo Brewing. It was a 4-pack that Steve had muled from Ohio for me for our WrestleMania episode that we were supposed to do in person. And then when all hell broke loose and we decided to do it through the computer, we never saw each other. And then we did meet up to exchange the beer for money. And
Very nice.
I got home and I had bought some other beer that day. And I dropped the 4-pack of Broken Skull on the ground. 2 exploded.
Oof.
The other one looked like it was close, so I had to leave it outside. And the one was real good. So I was able to salvage the second one, and that's what I'm sipping on tonight.
Nice.
Long-winded, What are you drinking story.
What? It's always – oh, damn it. It's always good to have a beer that has a story behind it.
Indeed.
What?
All right, Steve, well, I'm going to make you talk instead of just throwing in what. So what are you
Do
drinking
you think you're funny?
Oh, hell.
So, yes.
No.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. As long as you don't think you're funny. So, yeah, I have my own beer tonight. And I'm drinking on this one here. It is the Hootie by 6 Point. You've heard me talk in the past about the 6 Point resin, which is that 102.
Clean your glass.
Glass is fine. I was actually drinking whiskey out of it earlier, so. But yeah, no, we are. I mentioned the 6 Point resin, the 102 IBU IPA. This one is a lot less than that. It's a hazy IPA with 5 IBUs.
Wait.
Complete opposite direction.
Wait a minute.
It's all dry hop, no boil stuff, you know?
Okay. It's a lot of dry hop. Okay, I get that.
6.2% on the alcohol. Idaho 7 hops, Amarillo, El Dorado, Galaxy.
Nice.
5 IBU.
Yep.
So is that just juice?
Yeah, it's just juice. It's fine.
All right. Okay.
It's yummy little juice. I will say, I surprisingly found it at the Moon Giant Eagle, and they have a pretty shit selection as far as mix and match goes. The downside was it is way out of freshness date.
Oh,
So yeah.
Oh,
It was
that would
canned.
explain why it got moved to the Moon Giant Eagle.
Right.
We'll take your leftovers.
It was canned in December of 2019, but it's
Well,
still
that's-
good.
I
Still
say
fun.
it's still better than some of the beers that I've had in the past couple of weeks myself, so I can't really
Right.
hate.
You've been drinking year-old pumpkin beers, so
But I am happy to say that streak is over.
that's right. We talked about this on Twitter. What
Yes.
have you decided?
So for this episode, I went with an 11th hour, the Dream Cannon #2.
Mm.
This is their black and blue with blackberries and blueberries. It's a sour ale. They call it a Weizen because it's got a whole lot of wheat to it. Okay, fair enough. I think it's like 4.4% ABV. It's good. I like it. It's tart, but it's not overly sour. It doesn't have the jaw tingle that a lot of other sours have, but
Right.
it's definitely got a good bit of tartness to it, and I like it. Steve, I think you might be able to enjoy this one.
Well, I think I've had a Dream Cannon at Beers of the Berg as well that I did enjoy. I think it was
Okay.
more. I think it was like a strawberry one or something. And I think the
Okay.
last Beers of the Berg we went to, I had a Dream Cannon that I enjoyed. So
Yeah, they do have several Dream
Good
Cannons.
series.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think they're up to at least 8.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I've had 8 before, so they got a good series going, and I like what they're doing. 11th Hour makes good stuff.
yeah, they do.
Absolutely.
Would drink again.
Cool. So let's get into a little bit of news and notes and neat. If we can bring that back, just because we've allowed everything to build up, and there's finally stuff to talk about.
Is this like damming up the river where we can have a controlled release now?
Yeah, pretty much. You got to let it build up, and then you can get enough news. It's not all good news this week, but I'll try to keep some of it as good news. I have a good news. I have I don't care news, and then I have bad news. But it's not
Well,
bad news for America, so that's fine.
Well, let's start with the good news.
All right. So the good news is there's a distributor in Emmaus, PA, and that's all the way out in like Allentown, Bethlehem, PA area.
Okay.
Yeah. They got some news this week because they are adding a wall of alcoholic slushies to their distributor.
A wall?
A wall, as pictured here. This is their wall of
Oh.
alcoholic slushies if you're watching on the video.
That is
awesome.
that is awesome. That gives me reminders of like a New Orleans drive-through.
That's why I wanted to talk about it, because we
Yeah.
remember New Orleans and how fun that is.
Oh yes.
Well, so we've seen this kind of pop up in other distributors in PA. JR's for one,
Mhm.
they have about 4 machines running. This place in Emmaus called Shangy's has 20.
Wow.
Yeah,
So this will be the new thing. So someone says, "Hold my slushy." I'm going to do 60. I'm going to do 90,
yeah.
Yeah.
and then we just reap the benefits like we have been with all the beer taps. I'm okay with this.
Yeah. So the thing about the ones at JR's that I've always seen, they've always been mixing like those MXD and Smirnoff, all those kind of 8 and 10% and 12% wines with slushies.
The malt beverages.
Yeah. Apparently, Shangy's is actually using some actual beer in some of these machines as well,
Oh, very nice.
because they have a Delirium Red. So, Delirium Tremens, we all know that. Delirium Red is like a cherry version of Delirium Tremens that is kind of similar to the Castile Rouge or Ommegang Rosetta. It's a cherry tart sour beer. It's very good. I like it a lot, but they're making slushies with it out in Emmaus.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're still doing this, but when it was the Rivertown taproom, they did Halakahiki slushes.
Oh,
They were awesome.
Nice.
I could get behind that.
Yeah.
I know there's some wineries here in Western PA that are doing the same thing with their wines.
Mhm.
They're turning that into slushies, and they're kind of doing the same thing where they're having slushies to go now.
Yeah,
That was That was actually where I got introduced to this whole slushy phenomenon. Was at Washington Winery, right next to Washington Brewing, and they had booze. I think it was a bourbon slushy with booze from, it was either Liberty Pole or Red Pump. I can't remember which one of the two had supplied the bourbon, and then they had their wine slushies. Phenomenal. They were awesome. And what's really cool about this, I'm pretty sure this is how it is across the region. If they put a little piece of paper over the straw, that means it's not an open container when you take it outside of the store. That's just genius.
I mean, that's the way it is in New Orleans because they started the drive-through daiquiri, places down there. And as long as it had that little paper over top the straw,
sealed.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, that was the best $4. The one beer distributor out in Chippewa. Me and my buddies were playing golf last summer, and we went to the distributor afterwards to get beer. And he had a Long Island iced tea slushy going. And I said, "How much?" He said, $4. I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, sold. That was awesome.
That's got to be the most dangerous slushy out there.
Yeah, that took me back to like going to Canada, where Long Island iced teas are twice as strong per Andy Bernard on The Office. And no, I can actually vouch for that, having been to Canada a lot before I turned 21.
Those are the drinks that you get when you're 2 hours behind everybody else when you show up to the bar.
Yeah,
you gotta catch up.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're not going to mainline tequila, you just do Long Island iced teas and you're back in the game.
Mm-hmm. So, Steve, what else you got? Give us some not so great but not terrible news.
Yeah, so this is just kind of ambivalent news because, I mean, at least for me, because I don't really give a shit about it.
Made my day.
Well, no, this is good. I'm fine with. The next news story.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no, this I'm good with. I want more of this, and I want that delirium tremendous or the delirium red slushy.
The colors are they look so pretty.
Yeah,
they're inviting.
But no, the next story is what I'm ambivalent about is so City Brew Tours. We're familiar with them. They used to offer shuttles around the breweries. A company based out of Massachusetts, but we have an arm out here in Pittsburgh that goes around breweries. Obviously, they're not running business as usual because of quarantine and things like that.
Right.
They started up something new though, and it is a virtual beer and cheese pairing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So for $150, you can schedule a private Zoom meeting, and they will have a private beer and cheese tasting, and they will teach you about pairing beers and pairing cheeses. And then for $50 to $120 extra, depending on the person, and beers and cheeses, they will mail the beers and cheeses to people.
They goddamn better. What am I paying $150 for if I'm not getting that cheese and beer?
Right, that should be part of the base price.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought it was.
Me too.
No, it's...
I'm going to pay $150 to listen to these guys talk about cheese. Go to session 39 of the Breaking Brews podcast. We did an hour and a half on this for free. I don't want to step on their toes, but fuck.
No, again, that's why I said this was ambivalent. I didn't know who was going to like this and not, but... So
I want to meet the person that says, you know what, this sounds like a meaningful investment.
So far, what they've said is like it seems to be all corporate events, and that makes total sense because just corporate events are.
Put it on the card; it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's but yeah, it's $150 just for the meeting, and then it's $50 to $125 per person to get beer and cheese to those participants. Yeah.
There's got to be some cheesemonger out there that has a YouTube series.
Oh, for
Dollar
sure.
Bill, Zippo later. Yeah. I can do this because we have the visual.
For sure. But yeah, Jason, you're talking about your podcast. That was with Brian Reed, right?
Yes.
That you guys did the beer and cheese.
So yeah, I mean, Brian being a master cicerone, he is also a very damn well-spoken food expert. And then we had a niece from Chantel's Cheese Shop on, and she's a cheesemonger. She knows all of it. So yeah, like we went through, I think, 6 or 7 different kinds of cheese and 6 or 7 different kinds of beers, and those two paired up styles with different cheeses, and I just had to go pick up the beer, and then bring microphones and a recorder. And I was like, "Here, you guys, I'll chime in here and there. I just want to eat cheese and drink beer."
Right.
And it was one of the more fun shows that I had ever done.
I'm pretty sure Dennis was running some, like, working in conjunction with Chantel's Cheese Shop to put together some beer and cheese tastings too at one point.
She does a great job. I know before the coronavirus broke out, she had paired up with Beerport down in Lawrenceville and done some tastings. She's done several different beer and cheese classes, and not just beer, but bourbon and cheese, wine and cheese. Basically, you can look her up and book her for whatever you need or whatever you like. And I know she's done it for different size groups as well. So definitely a good resource. Chantel's Cheese Shop over in, I guess it's considered Bloomfield. I'm pretty sure, like that little area of Penn Ave, right by Children's Hospital. Great selection, and she's awesome. She's one of the nicest people I've ever met. So I feel like I got some good plugs to throw out. Chantel's is unexpected, but I have another one for segment 2.
Okay.
With the beer I'll be drinking. So yeah,
right.
Just plugging away tonight, guys.
Hey, I'm kind of setting you up for him, so I don't care.
I'm kind of surprised that the brewery tours didn't take their buses and vans and kind of use them and pivot over to a delivery service.
I don't know. That seems like it's dedicating like resources that doesn't really help them much. Makes.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, this makes more sense from like a money-making standpoint.
Yeah, I was going to say they can make more money if they've actually got a market for this than they.
That's true. Yeah, if they're able to get hold of that corporate dollar, I agree.
Right, and they totally can, considering the number of like corporate entities that are just sitting at home on Zoom meetings right now.
Right.
You know, I've had to edit some of these.
This was
in my job. Sorry, Jason. I was just going to say, just in my job, I've had to edit some of these sit around corporate fuck-arounds for Zoom meetings. So
I got to throw this out there because I was when I started the whole beer and food pairing thing on the Breaking Brews podcast, I had said, you know, this is good for us because we're sitting here and we get to enjoy it. Well, people actually want to listen to it. And being on the end where I actually got to enjoy what we were talking about, it was good. On the listener end, I'd be like, fuck no, I want this in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be eating this cheese and drinking this beer to experience the whole thing.
Well, I mean, if you have your show notes right, everybody can prepare ahead of time and buy all that stuff ahead of time.
Yeah, that was going to be what I did, and then I didn't.
Okay.
It was like basically it was like listen to the show, hear what they had to say, go to Chantel's and pick up the cheese, go get your beer, do it at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, sounds like you guys weren't too sold on their beer and cheese pairing. So how about for $99, you can take a 3-hour homebrewing course?
Well, that's not bad. I mean, through them?
Yeah, through them, and they will give you ingredients.
Oh,
so
okay.
They'll send you ingredients for a pale ale or an amber, so it's not totally like I don't want to say scammy or whatever. So I kind of feel like the beer and cheese pairing is a little scammy, but this makes a little more sense.
Scammy, no. Overpriced,
yeah,
maybe. And that's the thing is, I don't want to shit on anybody that's being creative in these times. You know what I mean? Like I sort of feel like the last 5 minutes, that's all we just did. But
hey, you got to try something.
Yeah, they're thinking outside the box, which is very commendable. And yeah, to add in some home brewing to the mix. I'm sure there's lots of people right now. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of the home brewers that are usually home brewing anyway, posting more pictures of home brews because they have time.
Oh yeah,
so they have more time to make beer. That's always good.
Yeah, I mean, if you can stay home and make beer, you know, again, like you want to support local, but also if you can just make it yourself and not have to interact with the public, I'm kind of behind that as well.
And it goes along the same lines as everybody that's making bread now.
Yeah,
you know, it's a hobby that you can try out and you can see the results yourself on something that you buy from the store all the time.
Yeah, I feel like that's one thing that maybe I'm lacking with this whole lockdown thing is I haven't learned how to bake.
It doesn't have to be baking. You can learn anything.
I know.
Yeah, but baking is delicious.
Yeah. Baking
Yeah.
make you fat.
I know. Ask me how I know.
Baking make you fat.
Yeah, that was the skill that I've rediscovered during quarantine is my ability to gain weight.
Mm-hmm.
I got that down pat.
I went through a couple dozen of chocolate chip and raspberry cookies over the weekend.
Couple
Made them. Yeah. I mean, trust me, they were good, but they didn't do me any good.
Oh, you know what? I got to talk about this. If we're talking getting fat and shit like that,
Yeah, game on.
the Bowser's Barbecue in the Rogue County. Their smoked cheesecake.
Ooh.
That sounds
Yeah, yeah. I'm all about that. Like, and it's nice because like you get takeaway, and it comes in a glass mason jar, and now I can use the mason jar for pickling.
It's a win-win.
Yeah,
Turn it into old timey Steve.
hell yeah. I'm gonna get some pickled red onions out of this.
Nice. Oh man. All right. What's our bad news?
So the bad news is kind of good news for us, but it's bad news for elsewhere. We're pretty spoiled in America right now as far as lockdown and quarantine and beer goes, because there are other countries that are actually in a heap load of trouble. One of them being South Africa. South Africa has imposed a total prohibition of alcohol and nicotine sales throughout
Yeesh.
yes. And they're 4 weeks into it now, I believe, with their lockdown and prohibition.
How has martial law not?
I have
I
no
mean, I
idea.
can't even imagine.
Well, other things have broken out. They've had a complete run on pineapples because people are homebrewing pineapple beers now.
Oh yeah,
Ah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, people are just making janky pineapple alcohol. Apparently, there was a break-in at a mortuary, and people stole 97% alcohol that's used for preserving bodies.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a problem there.
yeah. That's up there with like drinking Sterno. People are making squeeze with mortuary juice.
so pretty much what they could have learned from Prohibition back in the 20s here, it doesn't work.
Right.
And it makes things a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yet here we are
Yeah.
breaking into mortuaries.
Apparently 2 people have died from drinking home brews. Like a couple tried to make their own home brews and they died, and then they're dumping 400 million bottles worth of beer because it can't be sold and it can't be transported. It's just like sitting around and going bad. It's fallen out of quality.
Now, this source where you found this news, did it say why they felt that this was the steps to take? They felt like alcohol was causing the outbreak?
Yeah, they not causing the outbreak, but they thought alcohol sales, exasperating it. Because also they're banning nicotine. So like there's the whole thing about alcohol and nicotine, lowering your body's immune system. So they want to prevent that. They wanted to prevent unnecessary buying. So if you're thinking of nicotine and alcohol as luxuries, they don't want people gathering at stores to buy luxury items. They want to reduce domestic violence. They wanted to reduce like general transmission and things like that.
That's a bold strategy.
That's just stupid. Let's take all of everybody's fun things away and think they'll comply. Did the article end with "brought to you by the Church of Jesus Christ"? That just sounds like, God said that we can't have you drinking or smoking anymore. Yoink.
No,
Crazy.
I pulled this from a bunch of different sources. I think one of them was MSN, and then like a bunch of other like UK articles were talking about all these different things that have gone on in South Africa since they instilled prohibition. And obviously people are still getting drunk off like these janky homebrews.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you could just let history be your guide, because that prohibition, people got more drunk. There was more booze and alcohol available when it was technically illegal.
Right. And
You're
now
always
they're
going to find a way. You're always
And you've also created a black market for people who are going to meet in secret, and then they could
Right.
still wind up transmitting the disease.
Yeah, I could imagine. I mean, what was the big thing that came from Prohibition in the 20s? The speakeasy.
Mm-hmm.
So there's probably something that's very similar to that where, okay, what's really causing the outbreak and the continued growth of it is people piling on top of one another.
Right.
There you go.
And if they kept it in the grocery stores, it'd have taken them extra, 30 seconds to pick up a case of beer or a pack of smokes?
Right. Or they could at least monitor people,
Mhm.
in their distance. Now you might have something similar to like a Chicago ice truck roaming, the city streets, doling out the janky beer. And
Mhm.
people are like not following any protocols at all because they're not under the watchful eye of anybody.
Right. They need their fix, and they need to, any means necessary to get their booze.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to take those extra steps, those sketchy steps.
Right. But I just wanted to bring that to, we should be thankful as Americans, though, because we don't have to deal with any of that.
Yeah.
And even as Pennsylvanians, we now have like a bunch of breweries that will ship directly to our homes.
Mm-hmm.
And McLaughlin Distillery will ship directly to your home as well.
Yep.
I know you like
And-
them, Adam. So
I do.
Yeah.
And I believe they've always been open where you could go to their distillery regardless.
Well, I don't think they weren't a sit down
No,
place or anything.
no, they don't have any. I think they have one chair there, and there's a barrel already on it. It's a grandma's rocking chair whiskey or something like that.
It's a
just
prop.
continuously. It is. It's they've got a whiskey barrel on it, and it's continually rocking.
Right
They've
on.
got a little mechanism on the rocker. It's neat, but that's the only chair in the building.
Yeah.
So you're not hanging out there.
right. So yeah, I just wanted people to know how good we have it, and stop some of the complaining that might be going on, because we still at least can buy our booze and our ciggies.
Yes, if you need that.
Yeah, that's nuts. I can't imagine how they didn't see that. I mean, I don't know how addiction is over in South Africa. I would have to assume that it operates or functions very similarly to how it would operate here. Therefore, taking that type of thing away from a person isn't going to make them relax and be conformative. They're going to be high strung and probably just flip the fuck out, leading to more oh man, interesting.
Bad call all around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bold. I think you said it earlier. It's a bold strategy.
There you go.
It works
See if
out
it
for
pays off. So I'm going to finish off with one little bit of local news here, which is kind of half-ass local news.
Okay.
But Insurrection in Heidelberg, early, I think it was in February, they announced that they were going to have a second tap room open up in Shadyside, and then they redacted that. Well, they are back again with a new location somewhere in the city. They have not disclosed where they're going to have it. What's that?
Strip district, baby.
Oh, it isn't a strip district.
I think they announced that today,
Oh, okay.
as of our recording time. Yes.
Gotcha. All right. Good.
Penn Ave in the Strip, I believe. 1812, if I recall the Facebook post.
Nice. Yeah, the strip district is oddly bare when it comes to breweries. Well, no, I take
Probably
that
a
back.
reason for that.
Well, yeah. I
Sure.
mean, Cinderlands is down there,
True.
but what was one of the first ones? Milkman?
Man.
Yeah, that's gone the way of the dodo.
Yeah, they had an unfortunate setup. I don't think they went in with I think all you could do was samplers for free. Like they couldn't charge it because the laws hadn't changed yet. So basically you would go in there, you could do sample pours to try the beer, and all you could buy was growlers. They did not have the ability to sell pints.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
That
not very
hurt.
sustainable.
No, it's not. And the beer was some of it was okay, some of it was not. Probably not to the point where it was encouraging a lot of folks to buy a growler when that was your only option. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So congrats to Insurrection.
Hell yeah.
Bringing their new location down to a more centralized location, because Heidelberg is not the easiest place to get to.
I'm closer to that than I am. Well, actually, I'm probably in the middle. Whatever. I'm sure they're not doing it for me, so
No.
I would not recommend that anyway.
No, but you can never complain about more choice.
Amen to that.
So yeah, just a little bit of news that Insurrection is still going forward with their second location here in Pittsburgh. So I'm all about that. That's it.
Right on. That's cool.
Congrats to them.
I'm about it.
Yep.
Oh, excuse me. So, we got a little 5 minutes left here in the segment. Let's go back to the beers that we're drinking. Adam, how's that Dream Cannon?
It is a hell of a lot better than the pumpkin beers I've been drinking in the last couple of episodes.
Good to know.
To the surprise of nobody.
It's much more time appropriate.
Yes.
Amazing. Fresh beer versus beer from 2 years ago is better.
Yeah. Who'd have thought?
I never would have put those two pieces together.
But yeah, I'm really liking it. I'm glad that I grabbed a 4-pack of it. And I think this is going to be a good weekend for beer drinking.
Right on.
Looks like it.
Let's see. My Hootie, it's pretty good. I mean, it's not better than the resin. It's just a fine drinking hazy IPA. Nothing to really write home about, but it's not bad either. And it might have been better had I drank it, within the month or so after it was canned instead of the 5 months. So, yeah, instead of waiting a half a year to drink an IPA. So, yeah, my bad. Or Moon's bad. Somebody pick it.
Let's go with Moon Eagle.
Yeah.
We'll say it's their fault.
And Jason, we'll finish up with you. How's the Broken Skull?
It's awesome. I wish I had 2 more to drink, but I'm clumsy.
Wah.
Couldn't have dropped the one that I can get any time. I had to drop that one. But that's a solid beer. I mean, do you know the story, Steve? Are they going to have more out at Vintage Estates of that, or is it just like a one-time limited release?
I can't say for sure because I haven't been out to Vintage lately, but I feel like that beer is going to distribute more to that area. So I think it was more of a one-time thing for the Pittsburgh area because Raw was coming to Pittsburgh on 3/16.
Oh, yeah, that timing was right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so there were limited quantities in Pittsburgh, but I think Ohio is getting a more continued sustainable supply of it. But I can't say that for sure because of quarantine and all that.
Sure, yeah. No, it's a great beer. I know I saw photos of Austin brewing with them back when they first did it. And that was several years, I mean, at least 4 or 5 years ago at this point, because I remember having bottles of it. What WrestleMania was it? 2016 or 17. We were drinking the bombers of it before it got canned. It was good then. I mean, again, I don't remember if it's changed, but it's a solid beer. Very, very not. It's not like your haze bomb. It's got a nice West Coast complexion to it, that's the style I dig. So,
yeah, it's not overly bitter though.
No,
either.
it's not. No, it's
like
not.
It's not or overly piney in that sense.
Citra, Cascade, and what was the third one? Chinook. 3 sexy hops.
Yeah, so I agree with you. It's a really good beer. It's just sucks that it's kind of hard to get. But yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. What do you guys say we take a quick break? We'll reload.
Yes.
We'll come back and we'll talk about that show.
Yes.
Not
Episode 5.
Adam, I got a bone to pick with you too.
Okay. I don't know about what, but I'm sure we can hash it out.
We'll get into it.
Okay, that's no problem.
All right.
We'll be right back with segment 2. Welcome back, everybody. Hop Nation USA 154. We got to talk about it. But before we talk about it, that being the show, I assume that we have re-upped our beers here. Steve, you got a new beer going?
Yes, but I don't have any thoughts on it yet. I'm still deciphering it, but we can walk through this.
I like it.
We can do this together.
Do we have to pay you $150 to do that?
No.
Okay.
And I have no pairings for it either. Oh, what I have though is the Sunday Feels from Dogfish Head, and it's a beer Mosa sour.
All right.
Yeah. So I don't have much information on it. It's just something I picked up. It's an ale brewed with grape juice, peaches, blood oranges, lemon, oranges, and lime.
I mean, it sounds nice.
Yeah.
That's crazy because Dogfish Head has never really done anything with like a bunch of goofy ingredients.
I know, right? That's really, off center for them.
Yeah,
Uh,
never saw it coming.
all right.
I'll
So
say,
have you drank it yet? Have you had a few sips yet?
yeah, I just had my second sip.
All right.
I spent more time photographizing it than
Photographizing?
yeah, it's
In a
not
sentence.
it's not as sour as you would expect. It's pretty drinkable for me. So
Nice.
I think because Dogfish Head is more of a mass market brewer,
Mhm.
yeah, this is pretty easy drinking. I can tolerate it, and it's fine.
Right on. Right on. Jason, what you got going on for round 2?
Round 2, I've got semi new to Pittsburgh, Lawson's Sip of
Okay.
Sunshine IPA. I picked this up from my friends down at Mike's Beer Bar today in the North Shore. They are doing to-go beer, mystery 6-packs, crowlers, mix and match 6-packs. They've got a great selection, and they've got some good stuff in. And I had never had Lawson's before, but I've always heard great things. And this beer is good. I think that I know I was already talking with a couple of people on Twitter earlier about this, is that everybody's palates have probably changed. It's almost like Pliny the Elder was the most sought after beer forever.
Mhm.
And when I finally got it, I was like, this is really good, but I can list 5 local beers right off the top of my head that beat it.
Gotcha.
Because everybody's palates and everybody's skill set on the brewing side has evolved so much.
Mhm.
But again, that takes nothing away from this beer. It's super fresh. It was canned on May 4th. So it's not even 10 days old yet. So that's like the complete opposite of your pumpkin beer from last week there, Adam. But it smells
Listen,
great.
I'm
Like, as
not-
soon as they popped the can, it was just like a tropical explosion in the room, which was awesome.
Nice.
I'll
Nice.
take that any day.
I will say I was never proud of having a 2-year-old pumpkin beer, but I was bound and determined to try to empty out the fridge, and all these old beers kept popping up. Like, I forgot about you. Oh shit, where'd you come from? Oh crap, there's more.
Oh, and as you said, if you didn't empty out the fridge, that 2-year-old pumpkin beer probably would have become a 3-year-old pumpkin beer.
Right.
You know, just get rid of it all, and then you replenished, so you're good.
Yes. Yes, and I feel much better about my standing of what I have in the beer fridge now, which no longer includes the Hoodle Bug by Levity out of Indiana,
Nice.
PA. Their brown ale. I'm a fan. I like it.
That's a great beer.
Yeah. This is the first time I've had it, but I don't think it's going to be the last.
Is there any bells and whistles to that, or is it just a straight brown ale?
It's fairly straightforward. There's nothing wackadoodle about it. Just a good beer.
Okay. No, I was just wondering if it was a brown ale with, like, I don't know, goofy extras in it, or if it's just straight up brown ale. Because
They do a couple. I mean, I know they do a barrel age version.
Right.
Usually once a year. But yeah, the Hoodle Bug though is just straightforward, easy drinking brown ale.
Mhm.
Pair it with food, and you'll be very happy with your decision.
Yeah, I could see that with a nice piece of chicken or something like that.
Yeah, or a burger or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's solid.
brown ales are good with burgers and prime rib.
Yes, sir. Indeed.
And I don't need to be a master cicerone to know that.
Cicerone, which is the one funny part of the show we're about to talk about. Brews Brothers, episode 5.
Yeah.
It got quote unquote better.
Yeah. Hey, full disclosure, and I'll just start it right off that I laughed twice. I broke my streak of not laughing at all at this show, and I laughed twice. However,
Okay.
I'm not.
The last 4. Good.
Yeah. However, I'm not counting one laugh because it wasn't something it wasn't a joke that was funny on the show, but it reminded me of something else that I think is funny. So that doesn't count. That's me laughing at something I think is funny. It's me laughing at myself.
Well, I guess what caused you to laugh?
Okay, so the one that I don't count as a laugh, as a non-laugh, was to just recap what the episode is about. This episode is all about going to a beer tasting competition, and they're all standing around drinking beer, and at one point Willem farts, and Chewie tries to find out who's farted, and he says, I'm going to find out who the fuck farted.
Mhm.
That's not very funny. What was funny to me, though, was it reminded me of Ice Cube face. And Ice Cube makes a face like this for the video watchers. And Ice Cube's face is, I smell a fart and I'm going to find out who the fuck did it. That's what made me laugh.
All right. Yeah, I understand why you laughed at that one.
Yeah, but that's just me remembering Ice Cube face. That had nothing to do with the show. The one actual legit laugh was a buzzer beater because it came at the very end of the episode. And the other plot line of this episode is that Adam, the dickish brewer, loses his sense of smell and taste, so he can't participate in the tasting competition. And then at the very end of the episode, he regains his smell and uses it to smell a pile of puke. And then as soon as he smells a pile of puke, he vomits. And that was funny because it was done so quick and surprisingly.
I'll give you that one. They didn't tell it. What's the word I'm looking for here?
They didn't telegraph it.
Telegraph. That's it.
Yeah.
I didn't know which old timey technology it was supposed to be.
Yeah. No, most of the jokes on this show are telegraphed that they take 3 weeks to get to, but you already saw them coming.
Yeah. I'll give you credit on that one. And the nice thing was they got right back out of the joke too.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty quick, and I laughed, and I go, oh, haha. And then that was it. But I was like, oh, they actually got me to laugh legitimately at their show because it was a quick, fun surprise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Jason, have you watched the entire series? Or
I have.
Please tell me it gets better.
I'm afraid I got some bad news for you. Well, I mean, I think if you start from episode 1 and as it progresses, I think it does get better.
Yes, it has.
But it's better is a very, very loose determination or a very loose pejorative on this show, as you guys have learned over the first 4 weeks of doing reviews, and here's week 5. I wanted it to be good, and I think I was trying to find as much good as I could because of who created the show.
Mm-hmm.
I was a big fan of The League. I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. Jeff Schaffer was a writer on Seinfeld. I mean, these are all some of my favorite shows. So my thoughts were, well, this has to be good. It's got these guys writing it. And boy, was I wrong. And I think the one thing that kept me invested, as sad as this may be, is Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
She's just cute. Carmen Flood. You may remember her from such shows as, and you might remember her from other shows like, I IMDb'd her, or IMDb'd the show because I wanted to know her name, and then I just looked to see what else she had done, and there was 2 other shows or whatever movies, whatever they were, I'd never heard of either of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is a fairly new cast all around. I don't think many of these people have been on much of anything.
Right. I've recognized, the only person I recognized was the distributor from episode 1.
Yeah.
From The League.
Kevin from The League, right. I'll tell you what makes this very intolerable for me is I hate Truffle. Hate him.
Really?
I hate him. I hate that character so freaking much. So if you're going to put it in terms of The League, is he Taco? Is he Rafi? I mean, my thought was Rafi because he's just doing a bunch of disgusting shit.
Yeah.
Like in this episode, or no, I'm sorry, it was episode 4 where they initiated Adam by having him drink beer out of Truffle's ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like if they would stick more to the, fairly loose term here too, intelligent humor versus just going for the toilet humor every 5 seconds, I think maybe they might have something. But it's just a constant callback to shit, piss, cum, you name it. It's just terrible.
Yeah, it's all poopy, cummy farts, and it's awful.
Written by a 15-year-old?
Right.
Yeah, but these guys have experience with good shows.
Right.
It's like someone. It's like I'm going to throw a wrestling term at you because that's what I seem to do when I come on your show. When Vince Russo was working under Vince McMahon, everything seemed to be good, and then he went to WCW and they let him just do what he does on his own, and it sucked ass because he didn't know what he was doing. Like someone removed the governor and said, "Here, kid, write a show," and this was the result. They crapped out Brews Brothers, and here we are. Gives you guys 8 weeks of content for your podcast.
Yeah.
Great.
Positives there, right?
So I have gotten to the point where I watched episode 5 today. I watched it during lunch. And honestly, within the first 5 minutes, I walked over to the kitchen, cleaned a plate. I listened to it, but went and grabbed a snack and stuff like that. A lot of other, streaming shows, I'll pause. I'll go do something and come back if it's a 30-second job or something like that. This one, didn't care.
Yeah.
I did not care. And that's really bad considering this is something that for the show I'm supposed to watch. I have to watch it and understand what's going on, things like that. Didn't want to, didn't care to.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the mark of the show right there. Is it has not given me any reason to continue watching it. If it wasn't for us reviewing it on the podcast, I would not have continued to watch it.
The thing that I couldn't figure out was, I watched it all the way through, and no, I was not thoroughly impressed. It had its moments. I think I told Steve this. It had its moments, but they were so sparse that it didn't amount to enough to say this is good enough to bring back for season 2. Mm-hmm. But I was reading in all of the beer forums, and even before I watched it, I was seeing people say, like, oh, I gave up after the trailer. I gave up after the first 5 minutes. But then proceeded to say why it sucked. Like, well, how can you legitimately say that this sucks if you're giving it 5 minutes of your time? I mean, at least you guys are tolerating it for the purpose of coming on your show and talking about it to whatever degree you want to say it is, but you're not just saying, oh, fuck this after 5 minutes, but here's all the reasons it sucks. Right. And it was a lot of the real hardcore beer people, before I even watched the show, I saw that I was like, okay, this is just like when the league came out. All the hardcore fantasy football players were so pissed because it wasn't taking fantasy football seriously enough. It wasn't supposed to. That wasn't the point of that show. That was just the running theme. They're all in a fantasy league, but they're all dicks to one another, and they're all friends that hung out and just ragged on each other.
So
this
that's
was taking all that and putting it in a beer context, but the jokes that go with it just aren't as entertaining, so it makes it hard to watch.
And the thing is, on the beer side itself, I don't have much issue with it.
Trying to perfect a beer made of piss.
Well, all right, yeah. I'll give you that one. That one's a little much. But I haven't been constantly watching it and saying, okay, that's wrong. Okay, they wouldn't have been doing that. That's completely out of context. I haven't started that mental checklist of all the things that I know are wrong that they didn't do any research on.
Right.
They just tried to enhance something to make the story better. I haven't had that. Yes, with the piss beer, awful. Awful, and they shouldn't have done it in the first place. But there's a lot of shows that I've watched where, if they talk about something that I'm interested in, it's very easy for me to pick out and pick on the stuff that is wrong just for the sake of the story. This doesn't have that nearly to the degree of other shows that I've seen.
Okay, so we're talking about this, and we can get into this a little bit deeper because there's two things on both sides of that fence in this episode. They have the tasting competition, which that's not really a real thing, especially not the way it's run. Like, I don't think people are really out there giving these flowery descriptions to get into it. But there is something they did do and include that wasn't completely, at least wrong in the mythology, is during Wilhelm's time at the drinking competition, he starts getting drunk, and somebody offers him brewer's yeast as something to eat to help clear up the alcohol and keep him sober. Now, and they properly attribute it to Jim Cook of Boston Beer, saying that he does this because he actually does do this. He does, put brewer's yeast into yogurt and then eat it to help, keep himself sober at drinking events. Jim Koch actually learned that from somebody who's pretty famous in the beer world. His name is Dr. Joseph Owades, and he was the developer of Meisterbrau's light beer, which eventually became Miller Lite, and he also helped develop Sam Adams' Boston Lager. So there's, yeah, he was a biochemist, and he swears by this, but there hasn't been enough actual scientific research behind this to say this is true, but they at least got that mythology behind that correct.
But did you pick up the hole in the plot line with the brewer's yeast? So go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go explain.
So he meets the guy or runs into the guy in the bathroom who tells him about the brewer's yeast. So he does it. Now he's already hammered. So I don't think it doesn't reverse.
No.
So okay, well that's just a hole in the plot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that wasn't what I was referring to. When they get back to the brewery, they're celebrating that they won the award, and then Adam, before he's going out to get food, he turns around and tells Sarah how thankful he is that she called him to come back to the brewery and save his brother's failing brewery and blah 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 blah. So then, when he walks out, Wilhelm and Sarah have the confrontation where he's like, "I can't believe you did that. Why would you do that?" Blah 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 blah. The next day, they're back at the bar, and she comes up to apologize, and he says, "For what? I was drunk. I don't remember."
So actually, I don't think that was a plot.
No, but he said, because when she said you're drunk the night before, when he goes, "No, I'm not drunk. I took brewer's yeast."
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I'm saying the way the show is
bullshit.
Yeah, the way this show is written, it's written poorly because we're talking about
I'm giving too much credit to the writing staff here.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, we're 5 episodes in, and we're just now finding out why the hell Adam even showed up.
No, they said that at the beginning, first episode.
They did. Yeah.
Yeah, because
he got called in.
Sarah called him to come in, and she did not know that they had that rivalry. She just knew that he was a good brewer.
Okay.
In Portland, where everybody's a good brewer.
Well, my theory behind what we're talking about, though, in this episode is that Willem is downplaying that, and because there was also that little bit of sexual tension at the end as well, because she's like, "Oh, because I care about you."
Right.
Because obviously women can't care about men unless it means that they want to fuck. But I think the whole thing is Willem just pretended the next day when she apologized. He pretended to forget everything.
Just to blow right by it.
Yeah, so she wouldn't feel weird.
All right, maybe you're right.
So I'll give them, I think it's still a poorly written show.
Steve defending the show. Okay.
I'm giving them benefit. Hey, I'm only giving them benefit of the doubt. If this isn't cleared up by the end of the season, then it's bad writing.
I'll keep my mouth shut. Correct me if I'm wrong. That clown that they competed against from Iron Triangle,
right?
Isn't that the brewery that they filmed in?
Yes, Iron Triangle is the brewery that they filmed in. And
that brewery is closed now? Is that correct?
I don't know if it's closed. I know it's...
okay. Maybe I misheard something or misread something. I could have sworn one of those forums somebody said that it was from... They filmed it at Iron Triangle, which is now closed. I'd have to look it up to see, like Google it to see if it's still open. But anyway.
Somebody checked in a beer from them on the 3rd, so...
No, it could be. Adam drank a 2-year-old Atomic Pumpkin. I mean,
I know. Yeah, I know.
Listen, we all make mistakes.
Well, everybody got to rip on you last week, but I wasn't on the show. So while I'm thinking about it, no, I need to bring this up before I forget.
Sure.
In one of the earlier episodes where you guys were breaking down Brews Brothers, you made a comment that the first season of Parks and Recreation wasn't good. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Compared to the later seasons? I will stand by that statement.
It was still good. It wasn't as good. Okay, I'll give you that. But the way you were saying it is that it sucked and then it started getting better. I disagree, sir.
That's fair. That's fair.
Great season.
I thought it was not great. The character development went in the absolute correct direction following season 1. But if it stayed on the path of season 1, it wouldn't have been nearly as good.
When they're out canvassing and then Leslie and Anne go back to the house and they're doing my worst, or what is it, the Lit song. It's Adam and Mark and not Adam. Sorry, Chris.
I was gonna say that's like season 3.
I'm sorry, Chris Pratt. What the hell is it? Andy. I'm sorry.
Andy, yeah.
Andy, April, and Mark are singing "My Own Worst Enemy" by Lit. When they're supposed to be out. I die every time I see that scene. I laugh my ass off. I just, for whatever reason, I think that's freaking hilarious. Season 1 was great. That's my second favorite sitcom ever. That surpassed The Office. I don't think anything will ever top Seinfeld for me, but yeah.
I'll give you that it's better than The Office, but to me, I think they made the right adjustments coming out of season 1 to make the show much, much better than it would have been.
I will give you that. I mean, you could see towards the end of the first season, Ron Swanson's character starting to take that step in the right direction. I don't know if anybody could ever see the legendary I mean, that might be, my buddy was texting me this like a month ago, and he was watching it for like the first or second time. He said, this may be the best TV character ever. Like, that's how, I mean, and again, he's right up there with a lot of the classic, whether you want to lump sitcoms and every other genre of television together or separate them into separate genres. Ron Swanson's high on the list.
Yeah. But he made the right moves, and I thought Andy in the first season was kind of a douche.
Well, he was just idiot.
Right. But he was an idiot without having that level of charm that he had later on.
Yeah.
I found him kind of grating, but once season 2 and season 3 came along, they tweaked them just right. And it went from an okay character that was kind of annoying to probably the second or third best character on that show.
Yeah, and he was actually only supposed to be on the first season. He wasn't supposed to make it beyond that, and they just realized they had gold.
Right, they got to run with it.
Character. Yeah, they had to keep him going.
Yeah, so I'm willing to walk it back a little bit to say that season 1 was not terrible. I'll say that, but they greatly improved later on from like I'll say end of season 2 on, got way, way better than season 1.
Well, I think a lot of legendary shows, I mean, The Office was the same way.
I agree. Yeah, they had to find their footing.
Yeah, a lot of legendary shows have had that same type of start. Seinfeld, first season of Seinfeld wasn't great.
Right.
It was good, but it wasn't great. I mean, and again, when you have the whole portfolio to look at, it's hard to say, yeah, season 1 was terrible when, you compare it to season 9. Yeah, by those standards, it is terrible.
Right.
But
I think the big problem everybody had was that Adam was comparing Parks and Rec and saying the first season was bad, but it still was nowhere near as the first season of this show.
No. Completely different level.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, does this show get a second season?
Maybe.
I mean, I don't want to give anything away, so I won't. We'll probably. I think you said they're going to do a wrap-up episode after season 8, right? Or I'm sorry, episode 8.
Episode 8 might be yeah.
Like we're all back on here at once doing this, talking about this. You'll see where it goes, and that's where I scratched my head when it was over. I'm like, all right, well.
All right. Then.
Nothing else about the last 3 hours of my life has made sense. Why should this? I'm going to watch something else now.
I have to turn this off now. This is bad.
Well, that says a lot right there. If after an entire season, 8 episodes, you didn't want to, okay, what happens next? It sounds like.
Yeah.
It sounds like you just sort of went, okay, I'll move on to something else.
It's, again, once you guys see it, we'll be able to talk about this more freely. I just question who we have to see more of now because of where they left it. Like, if this were to go on to season 2, it's kind of like, fuck. All right. But
that says it all right there.
Yeah.
So, all right. It gets better.
Sarah's in all 8 episodes, so
that's a bullying campaign slogan. It gets better. So did you guys have any bright spots from this episode? I already mentioned the 2 that I had. The 1.5.
I had a couple. I thought it was funny when Adam screamed, "I'm pedestrian," when he got drunk for the first time.
Okay.
I thought that was humorous. And that's the thing. Like, I am mildly entertained by the Adam character. I think that they like taken all of the stereotypes of beer snobs and piled it into one character that's going to go anti in the opposite direction of that type of person, but still use the same traits. So he's from the start, he mildly entertained me. You got to admit the fermenter hammock, that's pretty cool.
I'll give you that.
It's not bad.
But for me, the Adam character is the worst character on the show.
100%. He's not the worst character on the show.
He's not.
No, he's definitely not the worst. Truffle is the worst.
The food truck.
Well, the food truck people suck too.
Yeah, the food truck people are the worst. Which
that was another thing I didn't get about like the whole. Like this is gonna. I'm just gonna say this because if I don't just say it and just say it to get it over with, it's gonna come out wrong. So what's her name in the truck? Becky
in the truck.
She's cute, but if she pulls Adam in to have relations with her and Elvis, but he has to hook up with Elvis because if he hooks up with Elvis, they're one and the same. But then the very next scene, she hooked up with Truffle. And I think I was just so offended because I hate Truffle so badly.
How did he get the win?
How did he get in on that? But Adam, who mildly entertains me, got shafted. Pun intended.
And so,
see, I actually had the exact opposite reaction because Adam is the worst character on the show for me, and Truffle I don't have much problem with.
Ah, man.
So I was like, all right, I'm okay with this.
And this also goes back to bad writing because we've had this sort of running storyline of Adam lusting over Becky, but and it's very obvious in this episode she just tricks him because she's tired of she's tired of him hitting on her. Except for the previous 4 episodes, he hasn't really been like that disgusting or salacious about it. Like he hasn't done anything to earn getting tricked into this manner.
At worst, he's been awkward.
Yeah.
Also, how drunk do you have to be to fall for that?
Right.
I mean, that's a very good question.
Well, it was his first time drunk, and if you want to put it that way,
you know what? That's a good point. Still, my first time drunk,
right?
Not making that. I mean, I don't know. Like it was really weird. It was just a really weird plot line that's how it unfolded.
Right. Yeah, because again, Adam hadn't been like a dick or anything to Becky to deserve it. And in that scene, Adam's drunk. So if you want to really get into it, Becky and Elvis took advantage of a drunk person.
There you go.
So,
well, I mean, it's not like they have a lot of moral fiber running through the food truck, so
no.
I don't think that matters.
No,
because all that fiber went out the poop hose.
Yeah, they did dump sewage and oil into the street.
that line did make me laugh when she said it smells like the ocean out here when they emptied the truck. But again, a laugh is a very subjective term in this case too, because just going, that's not exactly a laugh, but that's what you do when you watch Brews Brothers.
Yeah, there's also laughs of like disbelievement, laughs of like, I can't believe this is how bad it is. So yeah, the very few comedy, actual like real, oh, that was funny. It's just more like, oh wow, can't believe that. Like laughs of embarrassment is a lot of I can imagine happening.
Yeah.
Have they legitimately sold any beer on the show? Like in the brewery? I know they have their Founders Club, and I know they had the bus tour come through.
During
have they actually
during the monks thing, were they selling beer when they were going to have the brewery blessed by the monks?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. So
they had a decent crowd for that.
So through 5 episodes, they had one night of selling beer.
You can maybe imagine that they sold some extra beer for the brewery tour, but yeah.
What they should do is have their brewery tour people do a wine and cheese pairing through Zoom, and then everything.
Give them a discount, $125 a piece.
You're also forgetting the guy at the very beginning of the first episode.
guy taking a shit outside. The Wiz from Seinfeld.
Oh,
No, not Artie, the strongest man in the world. The very first customer in the very first scene, there's that guy looking for dildos, and he bought a beer.
Oh yeah,
okay.
yeah. They didn't. I mean, they had the whole name thing, which was, I guess, in regards to beer names and humor, it had its moments, but they really didn't press that past the first episode, if I'm not mistaken.
No, but you know what? As I was grabbing screen grabs, I found a screen that had the tap list on it, and they did change the tap list to something that was less sexually oriented. So there's a small background, like good set design. Somebody made good set design and writing choices. It's a very weird thing to pick up, but yeah.
I guess we're to assume that once he made Sarah the manager, she took over beer naming. I don't know.
Yeah, so there's good beer names right next to that dick board. So the dick board is still there, but there's less sexually aggressive names for beers.
I'm laughing more now reviewing this bullshit than I did watching it.
It's just it's a ridiculous. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, again, I went into it I think I went into it with expectations being too high, just because I knew who was behind it.
Yeah. Well, to jump back to your earlier point, Jason, of removing the governor, I think part of the governors on the League and Seinfeld were you had other really well-known comedians.
Yeah.
That could be because you had Seinfeld and you had Larry David.
Larry David, right. Mm-hmm.
And then on the League, you had, an ensemble cast of known improvers. And this cast probably has no input because they're a bunch of nobodies, to put it nicely.
Well, and what's funny, going into the League, I didn't know anybody. I remembered, oh shit, I forget his character's name on the League, but he was Holly's boyfriend on The Office. He was AJ on The Office. I'm forgetting he had the sexual addiction on the League. I can't remember his name. Tall guy, whatever. Going into that show, I mean, I had no idea who Nick Kroll was. Anybody. Like, I just, that was all fresh to me. But I laughed my ass off the first episode. You can't deny funny. And that show was funny. So,
yeah.
I think, because that was more like intelligent slam humor than telling someone that they love the smell of ass, which is a lot of what they do here.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a lot of no effort jokes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're winding down to the last 5 minutes. There's one thing I wanted to bring up, and I'm very surprised. I am very surprised that we did not get a Meg Gill cameo in this episode.
Oh, God.
Because
crap in the show.
well, I mean, that's something the League did. The League always brought in football players as guest stars.
I'm sure some people looked at the script and went like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
Like, the agent said script dependent, and this is not good.
Keep our names out of this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought Golden Road was shameless enough to appear on something like this. Because there were other breweries in that competition that were actual breweries, like Angry Horse and Ohana. They are actual breweries in the California area. So,
right.
No.
Yeah. No.
I don't know. Seemed like a perfect chance for Meg Gill to get her face on TV again. Now that Viceland isn't putting her out there, I guess.
Oh, did they cancel that?
I haven't seen a new episode, so I assume.
Okay. No, I honestly, for whatever reason, I thought about that the other day and went and looked for you. Like, you can't even watch the episodes on demand.
Oh, really?
Really?
There was, because I hadn't seen the Pittsburgh one in a while, so I wanted to pull it up and suffer through it. All they have is like a 3-minute interview that she did with a bartender at Arsenal Lanes.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Well, that's about it. This episode sucked like the other ones, but not as bad as the first two.
I was going to say, it didn't suck as
sure,
bad.
Yeah, it didn't suck as bad.
Jay Sherman from The Critic. It stinks.
It stinks.
Stinks.
So with that, I'd like to thank Jason for coming back on. And
Hell yeah.
You got to go an episode without being forced to talk about wrestling. You volunteered some wrestling, but
I tried to keep that to a minimum. I'm going to use 15 seconds of this to say how horrible WrestleMania was and how equally horrible, if not worse, Money in the Bank was. There's going to be my wrestling. I'm done with it. I hate it. It's terrible. Let's talk about terrible shows on Netflix from their episodes going forward. Please.
Can do. So with that, give us your plugs, what you're up to, where everybody can find you.
Well, I'm working on some stuff right now, but I'm not really ready to release all the info. So just to chat with me at Jason Cercone on Twitter is probably the best place. Instagram as well. Hopefully, I don't know exactly when I'll roll out all this new stuff, but we'll see. And I'll come on your show and promote it when it's ready.
Right on. But you can always go back and listen to old episodes of Breaking Brews as well.
Yeah, the podcast is still going. Yeah, go to breakingbrews.com if you want to check out the first 45 episodes. I have recorded like 6 episodes, but oh my God, we're down to less than a minute. Yeah. Anyway, I'll stop. You got to get your plugs in before we go dead here. Fun, guys.
I don't know. I got a minute and a half on mine for some reason. But anyways, yes. If you want to find us on social media, just search Hop Nation USA, and that'll get you Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you want to find brand new episodes every Friday and listen as you should, then search Hop Nation USA on your favorite podcatcher like Stitcher, Podbean, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're on YouTube as well because of the video element we have going. And if you're on any of those platforms, leave a 5-star review because
we are a 6-star show, but they only let us stand in front of a podium and a bunch of people and describe 5.
And that's a bigger crime than trying to watch 3 more episodes of this goddamn show.
It gets better.
It gets better. Well, thanks again, Jason, for coming on. And like you mentioned earlier, we're going to try to have like a big bash and do a big season review at the very end. So
looking forward to that.
We'll call you back for that.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. I'm going to try.
I think we all got a lot of stuff to let out on that last episode.
I'm going to try to make it into a game and, see if I can make it like a PTI and put some of you in the corner when you say some wild shit. Say bad things.
You said the magic word.
How much terrible shit can you remember from episode 4?
Yeah.
Your game right there.
What bodily fluid wasn't mentioned on the show? So far they haven't got into the female squirting, and I think that's it. So
3 more episodes.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
You better wrap this up, dude. You got 5 seconds.
Nah, it's all good.
Talk to you next week.
All right,
Bye-bye.
guys. Thanks.